who are some players that you're watching and taking a look at?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got last year's draft pulled up just because this is amazing to me. And the first defensive player in last year's draft was selected 15th overall. This year, the first player in the draft might be a defensive player with Penn State's Abdul Carter. And so as I've been looking through these different positions, whether it's the edge, the cornerbacks, and the defensive tackles are the three that I've gotten through to this point. What I'm seeing is a lot of depth, particularly up front, with some of these guys who are just unbelievably athletic for their size. I mean, I mentioned Kenneth Grant earlier. That's somebody who obviously living in the state of Michigan, the Michigan games are always on. So that's somebody I've gotten a lot of exposure to just watching football on Saturdays. And the one thing that stands out to me about him is number one, he flies off the ball. But number two, he plays with a relentless motor and just chases down. I mean, we've all seen the clip of him chasing down the Penn State running back despite the running back getting like a 15-yard head start, and Grant runs him down and makes the play. But that's the kind of stuff that you can see multiple times if you turn on his tape. I mean, I really like Kenneth Grant. Another interesting one to me, Darius Alexander, small school product. Shout out to the MAC. As a MAC grad myself, watching him at Toledo, it's been interesting to follow along with his journey as well. Sounds like he had a pretty good Senior Bowl, and now he gets the chance to go out and prove his athleticism at the combine. I really, really like Darius Alexander as well. When you talk about cornerbacks, there's a couple of different guys that are really interesting to me. Jahdae Barron. Matt Miller from ESPN made the comparison of him to Brian Branch, and I love that comparison. I think Jahdae Barron is a football player. And when I did my mock draft simulation a little bit ago, I picked him 28th overall, and I know there was some responses, oh, no, not another corner. Trust me, if you haven't watched this guy play, watch him play. He is so much fun to watch. He flies around. He makes big plays. He's really good with the ball in the air. And I think the top end of this cornerback class, you talk about him and Will Johnson, as well as some other guys in that mix. But I really like Barron. He's probably one of my favorite players in the class as we speak here in early February. I guess mid-February now ahead of the scouting combine. I really like Jahdae Barron. And then one other guy I'll mention from the interior defensive line that I really like is Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan was a guy that just in reviewing different film and things like that, just one guy that really popped out to me because of how quick he is off the ball, his first step, and how strong he is. I mean, I really like Walter Nolan. He's a guy that transferred from Texas A&M to Ole Miss this past year and had the best season of his collegiate career. So Walter Nolan's another guy where if the Lions decide, hey, Anzarike ends up leaving, we need some depth on the defensive line. A guy like Walter Nolan makes a ton of sense for them. And then before we switch gears, I'll give you an edge rusher. I know everybody wants edge rusher. One guy that I've got pulled up here that I think could get to the Lions, whether it's in the first round or the second round, is Michael Williams. Michael Williams is a guy that I really like. Probably not going to be available in the second round. And then I know a lot of the buzz is him climbing, but I would really love it if the Lions could either find a way to get up to Williams' spot wherever he's going to land, whether that's the late teens, early 20s, or he somehow slides down the board. Michael Williams is a guy, plays with super heavy hands, physical at the point of contact, and can really get after the quarterback and heat him up with his speed rush as well. So Michael Williams is another guy I really like. I just think that to summarize it all, there is a ton of different flavors with this defensive line group, but there's a ton of depth, and there's really something for everybody out there. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of that as I get deeper into my reviews of different position groups. But there's a lot to like about this defensive line group, and so the more I see this, the more I want the Lions to kind of go in that direction, whether it's on the edge or the interior in the first round.